Have you ever narrowly avoided disaster and felt deep down that something or someone was watching over you? Maybe you felt a sudden urge to change direction, cancel a plan, or check in on someone only to realize later that it saved you from harm. These aren't coincidences. They could be the subtle hand of ancestral protection, your unseen guardians guiding your steps, even when you think you're walking alone. This isn't superstition or folklore. Across cultures and generations, people have shared stories of unexplained guidance, strange dreams, or moments of clarity that seem to come from nowhere. These stories point to one truth: the bond between you and your ancestors doesn't end with death. It evolves, transforming into a silent force that protects and empowers you in moments you need it most. In this video, we'll uncover 5 powerful signs that your ancestors may be watching over you right now. These signs often hide in plain sight, disguised as intuition, recurring patterns, or sudden peace in the middle of chaos. But once you know what to look for, you'll start to recognize them everywhere. Stay with me, because each sign reveals a deeper level of connection and strength. And by the end of this video, you may come to realize that you've never truly been alone, not even for a moment. This is absolutely sign number 1 out of the 5 signs your ancestors are protecting you. Let's begin with one of the most profound and mysterious signs that your ancestors may be protecting you. Dreams that feel more like visits than visions. These aren't the fleeting, confusing images we often dismiss upon waking. These dreams carry weight. They echo with meaning. And most importantly, they leave behind a sense of presence that's hard to shake. Have you ever dreamed of a person you didn't know, yet felt inexplicably connected to? Or found yourself in a place unfamiliar to your waking mind, but deeply familiar to your soul? These experiences aren't the result of an overactive imagination. They are often spiritual invitations, moments when the veil between worlds grows thin, and your ancestors step through to offer insight, protection, or comfort. Sleep is one of the few states where your rational defenses are lowered. In that space of deep rest, your subconscious becomes more receptive, more attuned to symbols, impressions, and subtle forms of communication that your waking mind might reject or ignore. That's why ancestors often choose this quiet realm to make their presence known. Through dreams, they bypass logic and speak directly to your intuition. What makes these dreams different is how they feel. You might wake with a clear memory of someone's face, a place filled with antique detail, or a conversation that felt more real than imagined. Often, these dream encounters leave behind more than just images. They leave emotion, peace, clarity, warmth, even a sense of being held or watched over. These feelings are the soul's way of signaling something just happened. One person described a recurring dream of walking through a garden with a woman who said nothing, but always pointed to the same flower bed before fading away. Months later, she discovered a photograph of her great-grandmother standing in a nearly identical garden. That woman, unknown to her in waking life, had survived unimaginable hardship and passed down a legacy of quiet strength. That dream wasn't just a message, it was a reunion. Your ancestors don't simply fade into memory after they pass. They live through the values, wisdom, and energy encoded in your being. And when the need arises, they respond not with thunder or spectacle, but through the intimate channel of your inner world. Dreams are one of the sacred bridges they use to keep the connection alive. If you've ever had a dream that left you feeling seen or guided, don't dismiss it. Take a moment to write it down. Revisit it. Reflect on it. These messages often unfold their meaning over time. And when you acknowledge them, you strengthen that invisible bond. You show your ancestors that you're listening. This form of spiritual contact may seem small, but it's anything but insignificant. These dreams are a reminder that you are never truly alone. Your lineage walks beside you, reaching through time and space to offer their silent strength. When you start to pay attention, you realize that your life is part of a much larger story, one written long before you were born, and still unfolding with their loving guidance in every step. This is the second sign your ancestors are protecting you. The second unmistakable sign that your ancestors are watching over you often comes not through visions or words, but through an unshakable stillness in the face of chaos. It's the kind of calm that makes no rational sense. When everything around you is unraveling, when emotions surge, danger looms, or your life feels like it's falling apart, this deep inner peace descends like a shield. Not a calm you create, but a calm that finds you. This sense of serenity is more than just your brain's coping mechanism. It's an ancient presence moving through you, quiet, firm, and deeply rooted in your bloodline. Ancestral energy doesn't always shout or warn. Sometimes it just arrives like a steady hand on your shoulder, a voice without sound, grounding you when you should be collapsing under the weight of fear. I once heard a man describe a moment where he nearly lost control of his vehicle on an icy mountain road. As the car began to slide, time seemed to slow. But instead of panic, he felt centered. Every movement he made was deliberate, precise, as if guided. Later shaken but safe, he said he didn't feel like he was driving alone. And that's the essence of this sign. In the most unexpected moments when your instincts would normally fail, something else carries you through. These experiences aren't limited to physical danger. They show up during emotional collapse when you've been grieving, or lost, or betrayed, and suddenly there's a breath of clarity. A subtle lifting, a quiet whisper inside that says keep going. That, too, is ancestral presence. Their protection isn't always about changing the outside. It's about strengthening the inside, so you can withstand what the world throws at you. Many people report physical sensations during these moments, a warmth in the chest, a tingling at the crown, a sensation like being embraced when no one else is there. These aren't hallucinations or wishful thinking. They're echoes of a lineage that doesn't forget you, even when you feel forgotten by the world. To recognize this sign more clearly, pay close attention to the moments when calm seems to emerge from nowhere. When, in the middle of breakdown or crisis, your breath slows, your thoughts clear, and something inside you takes control, not from panic, but from power. That's not random. That's ancestral intervention. Acknowledging these moments matters. Speak softly to those who came before you. Say thank you. Let them know you felt them. This small act deepens your connection, and with time, their presence grows more familiar, more undeniable. Your ancestors know when you're nearing the edge, and just before you fall, they lend you the strength to stand. Not through grand miracles or loud signs, but through a peace that lets you endure what should have destroyed you. That's how they protect you in stillness, in silence, and in the resilience they've passed down through your very soul. The third sign your ancestors are protecting you is through meaningful coincidences. In today's fast-paced world, we're conditioned to dismiss the subtle, especially when it doesn't fit into logic or routine. But sometimes, life sends signals so perfectly timed, so emotionally resonant, that brushing them off as coincidence feels like a mistake. These moments when a message finds you just when you need it most could very well be signs that your ancestors are gently, deliberately guiding your steps. This kind of guidance often comes in the form of synchronicity, a meaningful alignment of events that carries personal significance. Unlike mere chance, synchronicities strike with uncanny precision. You think of a loved one, and they call. You ask the universe for a sign, and stumble upon the very words you needed to hear. It's not about magic. It's about timing. It's about awareness. And often it's about ancestral influence working quietly behind the curtain. The more emotionally charged the moment, the more impactful these signs become. You may be in a period of confusion, heartbreak, or self-doubt only to encounter something, a phrase in a book, a line in a song, a random street sign that speaks directly to your inner world. That kind of resonance doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from a deeper intelligence, ancestral wisdom, trying to reach you in the only language it can: pattern, timing, and emotional weight. One man once told me that he kept seeing a red feather in the oddest places, on sidewalks, in his car, even inside a closed building. He ignored it at first. But when he finally asked his aunt about his family history, she mentioned that his late grandmother used to carry a red feather in her Bible and believed it was a symbol of courage passed down from her own father. That symbol became his turning point. It gave him strength to walk away from a toxic job and start over. He never saw the feather again, but he didn't need to. The message had been delivered. These meaningful signs can show up as names, numbers, smells, familiar places, or even strangers echoing words you've been secretly waiting to hear. The moment itself might be quiet, but the emotional clarity it brings is anything but. And that clarity is often the first whisper of protection, reminding you that you're being redirected, not derailed. To tune into these experiences, it helps to slow down. Pay attention to the little moments that strike a chord within you. Write them down. Reflect on what they might mean. Often, it's only in hindsight that the message becomes clear, but when it does, you'll realize it was never random. Even the closed doors in your life might be part of this guidance. The missed flight that saved you from disaster. The relationship that ended before it broke you. The gut feeling that stopped you from saying yes to something that wasn't aligned. All of it threads in a larger fabric woven by those who came before you. Ancestors don't only guide you toward joy, they protect you from unnecessary pain, even when it feels frustrating in the moment. Once you become attuned to these synchronicities, something remarkable happens. You stop feeling isolated. You begin to understand that your life is being shaped not just by choice or circumstance, but by the quiet care of those whose blood runs through yours. They're not gone. They're not distant. They're just communicating through the flow of life itself. And when you truly begin to trust these signs, when you start walking with awareness rather than doubt, you'll notice how often they appear. Not because they've increased, but because you've started to see. And that shift changes everything. This fourth sign of ancestral protection manifests as a kind of spiritual GPS. Sometimes, without warning or reason, you feel pulled towards something: an old language, a spiritual practice, a distant land, or even a dish you've never tasted before. There's no logical explanation, no prior experience connecting you to it, yet the attraction is strong and undeniable. This pull isn't coincidence. It's not trend or curiosity. It's something deeper, your ancestors guiding you back to the wisdom etched into your spirit long before you were born. This fourth sign of ancestral protection often arrives quietly through instinct rather than words. It's a kind of spiritual GPS embedded within you, subtle, ancient, and unshakable. You might walk into a place you've never visited and feel strangely at peace, as if your soul has already been there. Or you hear a chant, a rhythm, or a myth and your body responds before your mind catches up. These are not surface-level attractions. They are echoes from your bloodline, intuitive responses to energies and traditions your ancestors once lived by. Modern science acknowledges genetic memory, how trauma, resilience, and emotion can be passed down through generations. But what it doesn't fully grasp is the spiritual memory you carry. The way your soul remembers what your conscious mind has forgotten. The way your body responds to certain rituals, sounds, or places, not because they are new, but because they are familiar on a level that transcends time. You might find yourself drawn to a healing method that feels instinctively correct, even if no one taught it to you. Or you may experience tears or joy while listening to a language you don't speak. These responses aren't irrational. They are signals, ancestral signposts marking the way home. Not the home defined by your street address or family name, but the spiritual home where your lineage meets your purpose. And it's not always grand or dramatic. Often it's a small moment, a sudden calm while standing at a particular crossroads, a sense of protection during a ceremony you've never witnessed, or a recurring dream that pushes you toward a practice you've never studied. These moments are quiet, but deeply sacred. They mark your alignment with something older than this lifetime, something your ancestors are trying to pass back to you through feeling, not instruction. This kind of guidance matters more now than ever. In a world where disconnection from ancestry, tradition, and culture has become common, these inner nudges can reconnect you to something solid, something real, something rooted. When honored with humility and intention, these experiences become more than mystical moments. They become bridges to wisdom your soul has been hungry for. So, if you feel pulled towards something ancient, listen. If a certain landscape stirs you, or a forgotten tradition sparks a sense of inner knowing, don't brush it off. These aren't random impulses. They are ancestral currents drawing you back to the core of who you are. And by following them, you're not only honoring those who came before, you're allowing their protection to continue through you. This spiritual navigation may not follow logic, but it never leads you astray. Because beneath every step, every instinct is a truth your ancestors already knew you were never meant to wander lost. Your path has always been there, quiet waiting, and lit by those who walked it long before you. This fifth sign of ancestral protection is perhaps the most personal and powerful. Among all the ways our ancestors reach across time to protect and guide us, one of the most intimate is the sudden appearance of knowledge we never studied, never practiced, yet somehow know. It's not guesswork. It's not coincidence. It's ancestral wisdom surfacing when we need it the most. Have you ever just known what to do without having any real reason why? Maybe you made a decision that saved you heartache, even though everyone advised against it. Or perhaps you picked up a new skill, cooking music, healing with a strange sense of déjà vu, as if it wasn't something new, but something remembered. This is the fifth, and perhaps most personal sign that your ancestors are actively protecting you. Their knowledge didn't vanish when they passed. It was imprinted into your spirit, carried forward through generations, not just in your blood, but in your instincts, your sensitivities, your talents. You are not just the product of your own experiences. You are a continuation of theirs. And when the moment is right, that inherited knowing rises to the surface like a memory whispered through time. Science is beginning to explore this through the lens of epigenetics and generational trauma, showing that experiences both painful and powerful can leave chemical marks on our genes passed down to children and grandchildren. But spiritual traditions have long known what science is just starting to understand, that the soul remembers. That guidance can come not just from the mind, but from somewhere older, wiser. This intuitive wisdom often shows up quietly. You might find yourself knowing exactly how to soothe a crying child without training. You might instinctively say the right thing at the right time to a friend in pain. You may feel drawn to certain plants, sounds, or symbols, and discover later that your ancestors used them in healing storytelling or ceremony. These aren't accidents. They are activations, responses to your present needs, drawn from your ancestral past. One woman told me she'd always had a strange ability to calm animals, even aggressive ones. It wasn't until she learned about her great-grandmother, a healer in a remote village, that she understood the connection. She hadn't learned this skill in a book. She carried it in her bones. That's what makes this form of protection so powerful. It doesn't rely on outside validation. It's not something you have to explain or prove. When knowledge flows through you, naturally, without logic or prior training, trust it. Honor it. Speak to your ancestors in those moments. A simple thank you deepens the channel. A moment of stillness invites more. These gifts are part of your spiritual inheritance, shaped by generations who faced hardship, adapted, survived, and passed that wisdom on. What they learned through struggle becomes your inner compass. Their strength becomes your calm in crisis. Their creativity becomes your inspiration. Their instincts become your intuition. So if you've ever surprised yourself with insight you can't trace or skill you never practiced, consider that it's not just yours, it's ours. A legacy, a quiet form of protection that arises from within when the world outside offers no answer. In honoring these moments, you're not just developing a talent, you're carrying forward a lineage. You become the living continuation of those who came before, and the first step for those who will come after. You don't need rituals or ceremonies to activate this gift. You only need presence, gratitude, and the willingness to listen when something deeper speaks through you. This is the essence of ancestral protection. Not loud, not dramatic, but deeply personal and utterly life-changing. Now that we've explored all 5 signs, ask yourself, will you embrace this connection or ignore it? Because when you begin to recognize the guidance that's always been there, you stop walking alone. You begin to move through life with the full strength of your lineage behind you, steady, quiet, and unwavering. If this message resonated with you, stay with the journey. There's more wisdom waiting. And your ancestors. They've been guiding you here all along. And don't forget to subscribe for more timeless wisdom and spiritual insight every day.